Hello, what is up, guys? It is Maxwell with the Cardinal Companion. We got the whole football crew here tonight. What is up, Wes, Josh, and
Hello.
Brad? How are y'all tonight?
What's up,
Hey
fellas?
there.
How's everybody week been so far? It's only Tuesday, but it's a good little chunk of the week so far.
It's been pretty busy,
It's been pretty good, man.
but more busy with the portal, though.
Yeah, being at work and trying to dish out or keep up with the portal and still be mildly productive at work is a nightmare. So
Yeah, it really is.
So, other than that, anybody got anything super interesting that we want to dive into before we get into the transfer portal as a whole?
I think what we're gonna do, if you're all right with it, let's talk just some general CFB first, and then kind of get into the the Louisville specific stuff.
Sounds good to me. I don't have show notes for the night, so I will let you take it away. I know I'm so unorganized. Also, didn't get home till 6:30. So, but if you want to go ahead and hit it off, I'm gonna get this set up and then.
Yeah. So let's just get into it. So that it's, I guess, really there's like three big things in college football right now. Obviously, none of us. I mean, me and Max kind of talked about it a little bit on Saturday, but the CFP rankings. Are you guys surprised that they put SMU in?
Yeah, I am.
I am surprised. I think it's the right decision. I'm just surprised that the bias didn't win out.
But I would say this: I think it took that close of a game for them to get in. Now, say that Clemson blew them out, they wouldn't have got in. But it was a really good game too. So they deserve to get in.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it's not just a one-team league. I mean, we knew there could have been an argument for three, but I'm glad they did two.
No, yeah, I'm glad it's two. Personally, I think it should have been three. I think it's kind of ridiculous to leave Miami out when you're putting teams like Indiana in and teams like Penn State. But that's my Big Ten bias coming through.
I agree. I mean, I know you've been really, I don't want to say hard, because I mean I completely understand where you're coming from on the Indiana train, and I don't think it's necessarily unwarranted, but I just feel like there's so many other examples that are so similar. You take the Penn States, you take, and I'm gonna scream this to the grave. I mean, Alabama was kind of on that. They were in the same room, but for different reasonings. Whereas, the big thing with Alabama that drove me crazy is everyone's, now they're like, oh, we'll just schedule a cupcake schedule, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, the cupcake schedule is not what got you. It's your own conference. Yeah. You lost to 500 teams in your own conference.
Right.
You can't, like Ole Miss, the whole Lane Kiffin shit. I'm like, dude, you can't lose to Kentucky, the second worst team in the SEC at home. And it wasn't like it was like a close, like it was like Kentucky controlled that whole game.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like a game where you can be like, oh, they kicked a field goal after they came back.
Lane Kiffin's been way too much, man. But I'm just glad that whole trying to lobby for a playoff spot is over, because they were everywhere.
Well, I honestly, God, I think that the committee made the right decision putting SMU in, even if and I would even go as far as say, even if SMU got blown out, I still would have supported putting SMU in, because it's not fair to SMU to judge them off of an additional game that an Alabama doesn't play.
I agree.
We've never, under the BCS, the CFP4, we never had that precedent set.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to start doing it now. But, I mean, I think because of this, your teams, your SEC teams, let's call it what it is, they're going to complain, and Sankey's going to complain. And Sankey is the mover and shaker in college football. And I really think because of this, you'll see 14 and you'll see no more auto buys.
One surprise would be 16.
Yeah. So, and I think you'll see that very soon.
Mm-hmm. Not to get specifically onto Louisville right off the bat, but I do want to throw out Alan Treyu. Not sure. Writes for 247. I guess covers Midwest football, but he just put in that Mason Reiger is set to visit Wisconsin on Thursday and Georgia Tech on Saturday.
Good for him. Good for him.
That's the one team I did not want Reiger to go.
Yeah, I'd much rather. I think Wisconsin's a better fit too.
I am tired of Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
but good for him, man. Hey, I really wish him well because he deserved. It just unfortunate circumstances for him this past year because we could have really used him. So, and I was really looking forward to him coming back next year. And I mean, I get it. You want to be closer to home or just a new opportunity. So I wish him nothing but the best.
Absolutely.
No, we can't hear you, Brad. We can't hear you. Sorry.
You might have to adjust your mic at the thing.
In your browser settings, maybe.
Oh, also, this is not football, but we're not going to talk basketball, but I had to say this. So Travis Branham's original crystal ball prediction went from a 6 to a 7 for 5-star Mikael Brown.
Oh.
So hopefully that commitment will be coming very soon. But anyway, this is football.
Yeah. Anyway. So my one more CFP question that I got for you guys.
Shoot it.
Who do you think has the best draw?
Best draw.
That's a good question.
Let me pull it up, and that way.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
And because I've honestly been so insane.
Because I feel like we're all going to have the same answer.
Of course. Just give me a damn picture, please.
And while Max is pulling that up, guys, if you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, anything you want to bring up throughout the show, if you're listening on Twitter, just comment. We'll get your comment. If you're watching on YouTube, same thing. Send in your comment. We'll try to get to it. We'll try to answer it as best as we can.
Can you hear me? You guys see that? Did you guys see?
We can hear you now.
Preston Stone enter the portal?
I did. I just seen that a minute ago.
Yeah.
I know you are Miller Moss, man, all the way, but that was one of my guys I was kind of hoping we'd go after.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Don't you worry.
All right.
I just want to get through this a little bit. All right. What team would you say has the best draw?
I mean, I went to this. I'll go ahead.
For me, it's Texas, or like that 5-12 matchup. I know people want to say Penn State, but I'm telling you, I think Texas or Clemson has the best draw.
I think that's going to be a good game, honestly.
Do you really think that Penn State will beat SMU?
That's the thing. I don't trust Penn State at all. Not one bit.
I don't either.
Well, and that's the thing, because we don't know anything about Penn State because the only good teams they've played, they've lost to.
Exactly. I think what you're going to see out of SMU is that edge. I mean, they can win that game. I 100% believe they can go into Happy Valley and beat Penn State.
Wes, which one do you think?
I think I have to agree with Brad, man. I'm going to go with Texas, honestly.
Okay.
But the Penn State one, I mean, I would say Penn State, but I just don't think they'll beat SMU. I really don't.
My thing with Penn State, I don't think they beat any one of those teams in that top corner. The Notre Dame,
I think
Indiana,
Penn State's the worst team on this bracket.
Yeah, like Notre Dame, Indiana. I think my thing is you don't know about Carson Beck with Georgia, and I think Notre Dame defensively is good enough to compete with Georgia right now. I do. Same with Indiana. I think Indiana could give Notre Dame a great game. And I think in that bottom corner, I mean, yeah, Penn State could make it to the Final Four, so to speak, but so could SMU, so could Boise. I mean, Boise's really good. Let's not forget they went to Eugene and almost left Eugene with a win. I mean, they played Oregon probably better than
that was the closest game Oregon had all year.
Ohio State. I mean, Boise State is so disrespected this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Indiana just might as well just be happy that they showed up that they made the college football.
Oh my God, dude, they're gonna get.
Supposedly, they've already raised like 13 mil just in like the past couple weeks.
Dude, they're gonna get killed by Notre Dame.
It's gonna be bad. Like,
what are you gonna do if they beat Notre Dame though?
They won't.
I'll be low key pretty pissed because I do not want them to go.
So here's my thing with Notre Dame and that game specifically. Notre Dame doesn't score a lot of points. We know that firsthand. They don't score a lot of points. Notre Dame will probably win that game 24-0 or 24-3, and it'll look like the ugliest, most dominant game you've ever seen at that low of a score. I don't see how Indiana's going to be able to move the ball against Notre Dame at all.
We shall see.
Yeah.
But hey, we had to put Indiana in because they were 11-1.
I think you do have to. Because if you're going to put Penn State in, you have to put Indiana in.
We might not like it, but they should. They needed to be in.
Is Indiana better than Alabama?
That's not what this is about, though.
That's not what this is about.
Is Indiana more deserving than Alabama?
Yes, 100%.
Yes. This is based off of they won 11
Alabama lost
of their 12 games. Exactly. They lost to 6-6 Oklahoma.
And Indiana beat. So I would in conference play for Alabama, probably the worst team they played was Vanderbilt in conference play? Because they didn't play Kentucky, right?
They didn't play Mississippi State either.
So it's probably Vanderbilt.
So Vandy is – let me look at the rankings. I feel like –
And I don't mean to get too off topic because I know people are listening.
You're good. Yeah, sorry.
But I would assume Vanderbilt.
Auburn.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Auburn would still probably be like the fifth best team that Indiana played on.
And then Oklahoma was right above Auburn, and they lost to Oklahoma. So they lost to the fourth worst team in the SEC.
Okay.
And then the fifth worst team in the SEC. So this is where I have an issue with teams like Alabama, because I'm like, you've got teams like Indiana where they went out, they won 11 games, and yes, they didn't play anybody, but they also won all those 11 games, and it was blowouts. Yeah. Their one loss comes to Ohio State, who, has been minus the Michigan game, was a top 3 team pretty much all season.
Indiana didn't look like they deserved to be on the same field as Ohio State in that.
I don't disagree. But I think it sets a really bad precedent if you go out and win 11 games, and you lose to someone else that's also in the playoffs. That's your only loss, and in a power conference, and you don't get it. I think it just sets a horrendous precedent.
Well, so the issue that I have with this, and I'm not saying Indiana specifically, but as long as we have this current playoff format with the size of the conferences and the 9 and 8 game conference schedule, there's always going to be at least one Indiana, if that makes sense.
At least. I think
there's always going to be one team in the Big Ten that plays absolutely nobody, or they play one of
Which is
Oregon.
Usually Penn State, but they also have Indiana. So
yeah,
there's always going to be one of those types of Indiana teams, and you'll see it in the SEC next year. Also, I believe it's Auburn. The only team they play with a pulse is Alabama.
So who do y'all believe will be in the championship game?
Well, so Josh, who had the easiest?
I'm gonna kind of cheat, and I'm gonna say Georgia.
That was mine because I think that they can dominate either one of these teams.
Because Georgia,
I don't care who the quarterback is.
Georgia, so their first round game is in New Orleans, which Athens to New Orleans is 4 hours, and my God, they'll travel for it. If Indiana wins that game, they'll be lucky to sell 2,000 tickets to the Sugar Bowl at least. Notre Dame will have a good sized crowd in NOLA, but so they'll play in NOLA, and then let's say they beat the brakes off of Notre Dame or IU. Their next round game, it's not shown on here, but it would be in Atlanta.
So,
yeah, I mean, you're not leaving within 4.5 hours.
The Southeast.
Yeah, you got a Notre Dame team that is a very solid team, but has obvious flaws. IU is just a joke. They shouldn't even be here. Penn State, again,
shouldn't be here.
SMU, they're a scrappy team. They're a good team. They're very well coached, but they shouldn't be on the same field as Georgia. And then Boise, kind of like what Brad was pointing back to, they're such of an unknown, and because they are so disrespected, that would be a really fun matchup for me. And I think they
Georgia
played
Boise.
Didn't they play in a bowl game like 10 years ago?
Yeah, they played the Chick-fil-A kickoff, the opener, 12 years ago, and they played in the Sugar Bowl. Maybe they didn't play in the Sugar Bowl. They definitely played in the opener when Georgia wore the ugliest uniforms ever assembled and got embarrassed.
Yeah. All right, that's enough CFP talk, though, if you guys don't mind. I got one more general college football question, and then let's get to football stuff.
Absolutely.
My last CFP general question. Who is your Heisman?
Who's my Heisman? It's Genty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be Genty. Like, it has to be. What the kid did this year is we have not really seen that from a running back in quite some time. He's got to be your winner.
And go ahead with yours, because go ahead and I'll deep dive just a little bit more. I think it's.
I mean, for me also, it's Genty. This Heisman race has been so interesting for me because it seems like there is such of a disconnect from like the general media and like college football fans, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And just being quite truthful, the number of snaps played isn't a reason for someone to win the Heisman Trophy.
I agree. It's not a statistic on any website.
Yeah.
My biggest thing with that is Genty's putting up the numbers, and the way he's putting up the numbers, but he's not. It's not like ball hogging or like selfish ball. He's going in, he's putting up numbers, but I would say at least half the games this year in the first half, sitting out the second half on majority of the games, or sitting out at least big chunks of it. And at the same time still has a quarterback that's throwing for just under 3,000 yards.
Yeah, it's so funny to me because, like what you brought up with that, a lot of the arguments that I'm seeing from the Boise State people online are the same arguments we made about Lamar Jackson.
Really?
Sitting out the second half of games.
Brings back old memories, doesn't it?
It does. Like, I'm seeing them, I'm like, oh, man, I remember that one. Like,
yeah, and the thing is, and like the big argument against that was like, well, that's on the coaching or that's on his decision, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but you have to you take it. I don't care if he's sitting out, how many quarters he's playing in the game, because the way I look at it, I don't care about quarters or whatever. What actually matters is that average yards, and it's the 2,500 yards off of 344 carries.
And he scored in every single game he's played this year.
Yeah.
29 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, like it's
genuinely ridiculous, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think, like, you're averaging 7.3 yards a carry and rushing for 2,500 yards. That's
you see the size of that guy? Like, he's like a mini Derrick Henry. Like, he runs
like a faster Derrick Henry too.
Yeah.
I think it was Josh Pate that made this point a few days ago, and it really resonated with me. Gente is a once-in-a-generation kind of a guy right now. Travis Hunter is a very good player.
100%.
He's not once in a generation. I could take any 5-star and put him on a bad Big 12 roster, and they do the same thing.
I 100% agree. I think that you could.
I can't do that with you.
No, I mean, you look at how many quote unquote athletes are coming out of high school, and like you can't tell me that if we put Ja'Cory Brooks in his quarterback, that he wouldn't be. I'm not because he wouldn't be like a good cornerback. Mm-hmm. He has every ability of that you need to play that role, and those roles are essentially interchangeable in a lot of ways. In my opinion. Yes, because you still got to have, ball pursuit. You've still got to have, vision. You still have to have the speed. You still have to have the ability to, whether that be high point the ball or whatever, you still have to have some kind of extra ability. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that it's that big of a deal to me, but that's my take.
All right.
So, all right.
You guys want to do the Louisville thing?
Let's do it.
Thing. I'm excited.
Let's do it, man.
Yes.
All right.
Let's do it.
Let's get to the fun stuff. We talked about the stuff, and then let's do the fun stuff. So let's just first off, hitting it off. Let's we had a commitment today. Let's talk about him first.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm gonna struggle saying this name for the next 6 months, so I'm so sorry. I don't mean to offend anyone by it if I mispronounce the name. But Manu May Mosa, does that sound right?
Yeah.
That's closer than I could get.
So he commits today. He is an offensive guard from Purdue. 3-year starter in the Big Ten and very good size, 6'4", 300. Has pretty good lateral speed. He played 655 snaps in his time at Purdue. He allowed 27 QB pressures, 2 sacks, 2 havoc plays. I'm sorry, this season. He played 655 snaps, allowed 27 QB pressures, 2 sacks, 2 havoc plays, and 2 QB pressures. What's really interesting about him is, in my opinion, so these past 2 years he's played left guard, and his PFF grades have been very real, so they've been very he's like a 50 to 45 kind of a guy on PFF playing left guard. But he played left tackle his first year at Purdue. And when he played left tackle, he actually averaged like a 60 to a 65 overall PFF grade, which is that's completely acceptable. That's fine. So we brought him in. He's our first commitment in the portal. We're happy to have him. He has good size, and I think Owens can do really good things with him.
Owens, I feel like, has one of those ways, like if the will and the, raw, like if you actually have just the talent to play on the O-line, I feel like he just has like some kind of magical wand. Because like we've seen guys, that weren't those super highly touted, crazy recruits. And it's like you come in and, you've got a sprinkle of talent and heart and drive. And holy crap, you're, a third-team All-American. So.
Yeah. The thing that's interesting to me, when you look at an Owens coached offensive line, they do so much movement. They do so much movement on the offensive line. They're constantly pulling someone. They're constantly doing a shift. They're constantly doing a trap, a crack. They're doing a lot. And just looking at Mamume, I hope I'm saying that right. But just looking at him, he does have that good lateral speed. But I personally think they'll move him to tackle, back to a tackle, and I think he can really succeed at that position here. But
yeah. I agree. I didn't get it out of it. I was just kind of looking through stats before we got on, and from what you can look at the PFF, the rankings and stuff like that, and I kind of want to watch some tape. Not that I can tell if an offensive lineman is getting burnt or getting destroyed on the line or not, but I think it'd be cool for us to kind of break down at some point just to kind of highlight. So
yeah, I got a guy for that.
Yeah,
I got a guy for that.
Oh, I got to.
I will say, if you want to break down the film on him, just the Oregon game this year, just throw it out the window. That's a game that everybody has. Just throw it out the window.
Just
One
like
of those
Earl
nights.
Mills come in last year, like there was all kinds of Texas Tech fans going, "Hey, he sucks and he's no good." He was our best. He was our best one on the line this year.
Could have kissed that man.
Games, man.
Yeah,
it's so hard with scouting offensive linemen. It's really hard, and that's why, I give these guys the benefit of the doubt. There's bad. I mean, I'll say there's bad film out on every single offensive lineman in the country. There is one or two or a game's worth of just bad film. So the expectation and the hope is you can get them in the system, kind of get the fluidity going, and make some magic happen. But
we just got a comment about Omari Kelly.
That's a good
y'all want to go there real quick while we had a comment on it?
You want to lead?
I mean,
lead that one, Brad.
He's a kid where he started at Auburn, left when the previous staff was let go, went to Middle Tennessee State. I mean, he had almost 900 receiving yards this year on 53 catches. So if you watch his film, he's 6 foot 6'1". He's got serious speed. He had a kickoff return this year. He's electric in that aspect. And he's a very good deep ball runner, route runner. A lot of what I saw this year, or in some of the film that I've seen on him, he's a guy that can really stretch the field. And I mean, he would more so probably compare to like a Jamari Thrash type receiver. He plays a lot bigger than his size actually is. And, he's a guy that you look at what Brohm has done with wide receivers in the past, and he fits that mold. Like, you can do a lot with him. I mean, he can go across the middle. He can go deep. He can run a post. He can run a slant. Like, he's just that perfect plug and play guy that he's going to get a lot of attention on the Power 4 ranks. I mean, he is. But he's one of those where you watch his tape, he just sticks out. Like, he's got it. Like, he could be really, really good in this offense. And I believe he is visiting at some point soon, hopefully.
I was just about to ask you about that, Brad. You've been more on his recruitment than I have.
I don't know a day, but I believe they are working to get him on campus very soon. So
either this weekend or next week.
Right. Yeah, it'll probably be public soon. They're working. I think they're working to close that. So
okay.
But yeah, expect a visit announcement pretty soon.
Cool.
But he's a kid that a lot of people get excited about when you watch him play. I mean, he's good.
Yeah.
I also have a little bit of love because we've had so much, luck from guys out of like Tennessee State and Southern Georgia. Just those small like little southeastern schools. I mean, Colin Lacey, those small southeast schools, like they're like scrappy little teams, but I swear, like they spit out some
like Jamari Threat
talent sometimes. Jamari Threat. That's exactly. If the coaching staff is confident in a player coming out of those schools, like a lot of people are going to be turned off by that. I'm like, no, because he's moving up for a reason. So
speaking of Colin Lacey,
let's do it.
Let's talk about another former Jag down from Mobile. Fluff Bothwell, Demarion Bothwell. Kid's a superstar. Kid's a stud. True freshman. Yeah, true freshman.
Yeah.
Running back. He had what, like 600 this year?
I think he had 8. He had almost 900.
He had 8.
900.
Yeah. Kid's a stud. They're gonna bring him in on a visit. I don't remember what day I said. I just put the tweet out for me.
832 yards off 111 carries, averaging 7.5.
And if you watch him, like he obviously got to play on Tuesday, a couple of Tuesday night, I think Friday night games this year. The App State game stood out right away. If you watch him run, he has a very similar running style to Duke and Isaac. I mean, if you were to put the two together, like that's what you get with Fluff. Like he fits that same comparison almost to a T.
Yeah. And so I've seen a lot of people. It's been so the whole fluff thing, like it's been suggested since he's entered the portal, and it's been behind closed doors a little bit. But there's been a lot of people publicly that have been like, well, why would you bring him in if you have Duke and Isaac? And it's like, how do you even recruit this kid when you have that sort of a backfield, especially after we just watched Mo and Don and Kiwan leave? Well, you're going to have to bring in at least one or two running backs from a depth perception.
I've made that argument so many times today. I think you've seen a couple of them. People are like, well, we got Isaac and Duke.
Physically have to bring them in.
And I'm like, and how many running back injuries did we go through this season?
Yeah, we're known for injuries here in Louisville, man. So you got to bring in somebody or two.
And so the college game is so much different than the NFL game. You're not, unless you've got a guy that's really, really special, like a Gente or Genetti. I always say the name wrong. I always want to say Michael or whatever. Unless you got a guy like that, you're not giving him 30 carries a game, man. That's not a thing that's just not a thing that you normally do. So at the end of the day, you're going to bring in a third guy, make it the best player available.
Exactly.
And then we got coming in
because
the old JMU commit. So, so I think maybe just one would be okay, honestly.
I'm a big fan of if you have the ability to place yourself or your team in a position where if you do have an injury, you don't notice the injury, you do that. Because one injury, when you're talking running back position, quarterback position, your specialty positions, that's a season changing injury if somebody like that gets hurt.
We
think about it.
Stanford game. We thought he was going to be done. It looked kind of bad. But...
think about if you'd have lost Isaac at any point later this season, once he was established as the back, take away Duke. But if that's on a normal team where you don't have two true freshmen that you could toss up to freshman All-Americans. But that's a big hit. So I will take as many successful, powerful, and then just flat out talented running backs as we can get.
And if he's a guy you land, like if he were to end up in a Louisville uniform, he's a guy that fans are going to flock to very, very quickly. Like if you haven't watched his film and you're watching us tonight, you need to go watch it. Like he's very exciting to watch.
I agree.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
One more thing, because I don't want to spend the whole time talking about fluff. We got a lot of guys to talk about.
We do.
Yeah.
The one more thing with fluff, and nobody wants to hear this, but let's be very realistic about something. Isaac Brown and Duke Watson are very, very good at football. There is a very realistic chance that Isaac Brown goes to the NFL after next season, or Duke Watson. You bring in a guy like Fluff now, and it could pay dividends for you 2 years down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the whole kind of concept of, not to get out of basketball, but that was kind of the whole concept. People hate it, but that's the point of, Kobe and Ali redshirting this year is because you're building for your future.
Yeah.
You have a little bit more grace in football to do that. So 100%.
Yeah. But anything else for Fluff?
I love his game. I hope it works.
I hope we get him so bad.
Yeah.
I hope we get him so bad.
Josh is going to cry.
Yeah, Josh.
Well, as the South Alabama guy in me, all right, the Jags guy, I hate losing some of our best players. I'm more than happy to be losing them to Louisville, though.
Yeah.
If Fluff commits here, Josh is going to buy him a Fluff jersey.
Yeah, I'm like, let's start getting some of these Louisville guys to transfer down to South. Make us a mutual relationship thing. Like Mason Reiger, you want to come to Mobile, man? We have. It's great, but
Mason Riger, he's got FAU on his on one of his offer sheets, so I wouldn't mind going to Boca Raton. So instead of South Alabama.
Do you guys want to answer questions and then dive back in, or because we got a couple questions built up?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Derek said, "Yeah, but don't we already have Duke?" Oh yeah. What do we get? Yeah, so we answered that. Anthony said, "Did you guys see the rumor that Deuce Robinson and Miller Moss could be a package deal?"
We did see that. Yes,
we did see that. I personally have zero insight on that. Rumors are rumors, and I think you got something, Josh.
I don't know. Just letting you talk, man.
I was gonna say I think that usually with rumors, I'm a firm believer in where there's smoke, there's fire. That doesn't mean the fire's big.
and
if they have a relationship, they'd probably love it, but.
And it doesn't necessarily have to pertain to one individual player here, but today, not long before all of that came out, Pete Nakos was talking in a podcast about Miller Moss and how there was a potential.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying, give me 1 second.
Oh, yeah. But Pete Nakos was talking about how there was a potential of a package deal with Miller Moss this afternoon. And not long after that interview, obviously the Deuce Robinson news breaks that he entered the portal. So it's easy to speculate, put two and two together there. And obviously the previous, Louisville did recruit Deuce Robinson extremely hard back in the original Flyville class. So, it does make sense. It makes a lot of sense. So,
well, the thing is that story come out this morning, and then a few hours later, Robinson goes in the portal, which is, I said it earlier, it's pretty telling. It might be more than just one guy.
And that's the thing. It's not just one person here. Anytime you have a quarterback enter the portal from one school and then other players on offense enter the portal from the same school, it's easy to try to guess about things like that. So
let's just go into the full Miller Moss thing.
Yeah.
So with the package deal, the package deal, the first thing I want to point out is package deals work 10% of the time.
Yeah, right.
Like they very rarely work out. You hear about them all the time, especially in recruiting circles. You've always heard about it in basketball, but it's really starting to become a thing in football. They very rarely work out. With this one in particular, Nakos has been the one that's been really pushing this package deal. I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm not saying that at all, because I put out my thing.
I think there's an agenda behind it.
Yeah. I put out the thing about Deuce Robinson, earlier today. I do think if you land Miller Moss, I think Deuce Robinson also comes to Louisville. I got that on some pretty good ground there, to put it nicely. What's so interesting about the timing of it is what gets me. Is because now, so with Miller Moss, his official visit to Missouri it's over, by the way.
Oh, he's here, isn't he?
You want to call it a visit?
Well, no, he's not here yet.
No, I meant
Go ahead and put the hat on. Go ahead and put the hat on.
I meant in Missouri. Like, if you want to call it a visit.
Yeah. So his visit's over. He's not in Louisville yet. He'll be in Louisville tomorrow morning. The original thing with the Miller Moss. So take it back a little bit. He was originally pegged to visit Missouri on Monday and Tuesday, and then he would leave Missouri, come to Louisville on Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Louisville. Okay. Well, he cut down his visit at Missouri. He never did an official visit on Monday. He showed up in Missouri Monday night. I don't know if that's known or not, but he didn't get there until Monday night.
Yeah.
So his official visit
was a couple hours,
less than 12 hours.
Yeah. Which is almost unheard of.
He said, "Give me my money and I'm out of here."
Yeah, it's just that's like you don't. an official visit less than 12 hours. That's Kenny Payne level official visits.
Oh,
right.
shit. That was
Like
nice.
that's exactly what it is.
I don't know. We had like a 30-minute visit once.
Yeah, well, we had to give the
He
guy.
stopped by and then went to the freaking.
To get down the road, he literally stopped to go down the road.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so
Anywho.
he cut his visit short at Missouri, and right around the same time that his Missouri visit ended, is when Deuce Robinson said, "Hey, I'm entering the transfer portal." So what that tells me is, if you look at the timing of it, and you say, "Okay, well, he got through Missouri and he didn't commit to Missouri." At least if he hasn't committed in the past 30 seconds. He didn't commit to Missouri. Just per some industry sources here and people that I've talked to, they never even presented him with an NIL package.
Cool.
So I don't think that they were anywhere close with Miller Moss. Now, I say all this, and then I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and be like, well, shit.
You were very.
But I don't think it was anywhere close to what he was looking for money-wise, and from a pure football standpoint. Why does Miller Moss go to Missouri?
Money. That'd be the only reason I could say.
Pure football, like there's no reasoning for it. It's not a system that he's closely familiar with. It's not a system that I don't think he would thrive that well in. And I don't mean that in offense to Miller Moss, but like Missouri, they're not doing much on offense. And then I look at what Louisville, we're already returning arguably one of the best receivers in Power 4 football next year.
That's massive.
So none of it ever made sense to me with the Missouri thing. It's been speculated that he got an appearance fee for a visit.
Which is common.
I mean,
it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me. That's a normal thing in college athletics now.
Yep.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't know if that's 100% true, but it's been thrown out there. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, Miller Moss is going to arrive in Louisville, Kentucky tomorrow morning. He's going to start his visit on Thursday, and his visit is going to run through Friday. And what I know about Miller Moss and I know about U of L is there's going to be a lot of talent also visiting on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of talent.
Busy weekend.
It's going to be busy. Busy around that football complex.
And you look at a couple things, like at least from the USC side about Miller Moss this year. The line was not good. That's just what it was. Their line was not good. If you're Louisville, goodness, you can pitch just the drastic improvement from last year to this year on that aspect alone. You don't even have to mention the weapons you have, but the development. It's hard to say development, but the growth of the offensive line from last year to this year. If you're a quarterback, that's one thing that I would think would appeal to you is, will I be protected up front, which he was not at Southern Cal at all. You go back and you watch some of their games, the majority of the time he's running.
And talk about that USC defense also. Whew.
Yeah, that's a whole other
defense wasn't that great.
Right, that's a whole other topic. But yeah, it's the whole picture. If you want to go somewhere to play for probably your last year of college football, you want to know, one, you're going to have the protection up front, which at Louisville you can prove you do, along with the other skill positions. You have probably one of the best running back rooms in the country as it currently sits. You have a great wide receiver in Colin Lacey. You have a lot of talent in that room. And hopefully you have a healthy Jamari Johnson next year. Paired with other pieces. You cannot ask for a better setup if you're a transfer quarterback. You could not do it.
Yeah, and so the one more thing I want to hit on with the whole package deal talk, just being realistic here. So first off, I'm only going to speculate on guys that are actively in the transfer portal. Let's just set that ground rule. If you're a first-time viewer, sorry, I'm not going to speculate on anyone else. Just out of the guys that are currently in the portal for USC that would make sense. I forget what's the other USC tight end's name?
I just seen it. Shit.
Because they have 2 in the portal.
Yes.
Yeah, I just know.
When I and Deuce Robinson.
So the second USC tight end, I put out a post about him. I like him a lot. And this may sound a little mean. I don't like him as a tight end though. I think he's the perfect Dwayne Martin replacement.
Interesting.
And that's a position you have to address this offseason, sadly. I wish we could find Dwayne more eligibility, but there's just
they're
not out there, brother.
Keep him 10 years. I'll keep him.
Yeah. So
he's
when
awesome.
I look at this package deal thing and I say, okay, well, who's currently in the portal? I have the timing of Deuce. I have obviously the relationship that's there because, yes, was that done under Sat? Absolutely. The people that recruited him, though, are still here.
Deuce Robbins.
Was Ivy in on that recruitment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So, and then, I mean, just looking at it from, we always talk about relationships. We always do. But you have those key relationships on the coaching staff. You have those key relationships on the football team. I'm not saying that Deuce Adams doesn't have any friends on Southern Cal, because I'm sure he does. But he has friends at Louisville that he's been friends with since he was playing 7-on-7 and he was 14, 13 years old.
Yeah. I mean, in today's football, you brought it up, your 7-on-7 football, you essentially have travel football leagues, like travel baseball and shit nowadays. So, I mean, these kids, Pierce Clarkson was one of the best, like he knew everyone. I feel like he's one of the best examples. Like if you played football, and I don't even care what class you were in, like Pierce knew you in some way, shape, or form. If you were, in that, realm of football, if, going to that Power 5 level. It's one reason that class was so insane. I mean, that I still say Pierce Clarkson was the best recruiter of that class.
Yeah, he really was.
So
he was the reason for those guys.
We have a friend of the program. If Deuce comes to Louisville and Miller Moss, I'm very excited to get a friend of the program on the show for a special show because I have a lot of questions for them.
Yeah.
I have a whole lot of questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as of now, I think the full circle, the package deal, I think it is Deuce. And maybe one or two guys that aren't currently in the transfer portal because no one. I mean, let's be honest. It could not be a wide receiver or a tight end. I mean,
who was the other possible guy? Hudson, maybe is it? Is it Hudson and Robinson? Are those the only ones that receiving tight ends that's in the portal from there?
Yeah, and then they have the other tight end.
Okay.
So it's Hudson and Robinson, and then the other tight end. And I feel bad. I don't remember the other tight end.
Yeah, I can't remember the other. That's what
I seen it right before I got in the car to come home. But
let's say
worth noting here, not that I think we probably won't go here, but they did just have a running back enter the portal within the last 10 minutes. So
did they?
Yeah, Joyner.
Yeah.
So,
or I mean, like a simple situation, and I'm not saying this is true, but who's to say Miller Moss isn't roommates with the backup center?
Right. I mean, that's
yeah.
It's a hard conversation to have because you don't know, and you won't know until
bring the whole roster over. Come on.
Right.
Well, I do want to point this out before everyone starts freaking out, like, oh, USC was trash this year, blah blah blah. USC has an insane amount of talent on that roster. USC was trash.
They did
and
that whole game.
And it is not the players in that roster. You have like USC, what were they, like 8-5 or 7-6 or something last season?
Yeah, they were 8-5 last year.
Yeah, they had the Heisman Trophy. They had the Heisman Trophy winner playing in the Holiday Bowl.
Exactly. Like you have and I don't think I would have even been able to comprehend this, but it's not working with
Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, I mean, so USC, they have a blue chip rating over 55%. And I know people hear BCR and they're like, oh, BCR. If you have a BCR over 50% and you're 6-6, you're doing something majorly wrong. You're in that Auburn territory, brother.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness.
It was a deep cut, wasn't it?
That one hurt. That one hurt me. Yeah, Quentin Joyner is the new running back.
Did Joyner enter the portal?
Yep.
Yeah,
sophomore,
he did.
5'11", 205. The other tight end was Cade Elridge. He's a redshirt freshman.
Yep.
3-star. They actually have a lot. Another interior lineman. Another one of their quarterbacks. Another wide receiver. The Bear Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
How's their kicker? Although no, I want to see Vinatieri. I want to see Vinatieri kick.
Yeah,
he's our punter though. Isn't he here as a punter though?
I think he's a kicker.
I don't know. So the whole Miller Moss recruitment though, this has been such a weird recruitment for me. Because something I want you all to think about, U of L, at least Jeff Brohm, we've taken 3 transfer portal quarterbacks, and we've never really had to recruit for one. We've never had any legitimate conversation for one, or competition for one. It was, Jack Plummer, you really weren't going against that much. There were a few suitors for Shuck, but Shuck was essentially a done deal halfway through the season last year. So yeah, you're in a new territory where you're actively going up against teams, and it's so hard to see because when I look, national writers, when I look at things from a national standpoint, I'm seeing a lot of Nakos put out today. He put essentially his version of a crystal ball onto Moss to Louisville. And then I come down and I look at U of L specific, and I know we've been talking about Miller Moss now for about 2 weeks on this show.
Mm-hmm.
We really haven't seen any of the other Louisville writers start doing it till about a week ago. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to anyone, but it's just it hasn't been really that talked about, and everything you see is very secretive information, whatnot on Miller Moss. It's all very hush hush and whatnot. And then I look at the Missouri side of the house, and I've reached out to Missouri writers. I've talked to people that run Missouri fan sites. They have no knowledge on this kid. I had a Missouri writer today tell me straight up. He said, "I didn't know that Miller Moss was actually visiting." So just the whole thing's been so weird. I know it's really hard to gauge things off of vibes, but this just feels this feels like a guy that's going to commit on Thursday.
Yeah, he's been ours. It feels like he's been ours the whole time.
Yeah, just from what I've heard, I don't think Missouri's willing to match how badly Louisville wants him, to put it that way.
Real quick, so Oklahoma linebacker Deshaun McCullough, whose brother plays for Louisville currently, has a year of eligibility left. He was he started, I don't know which school, I just saw it, but he earned. Anyway, he's got a year left. He's got good numbers. He just entered the portal. His brother's currently on the team, so possibly another name to look out for at some point. Maybe, I don't know, but he's got a year of eligibility left. So,
and I'll just say this: 95 tackles, 5 sacks.
All right. So, do you guys want to talk about a guy that's going to be on campus when Miller Moss is?
Yes.
Let's talk a little Max Clare, baby, tight end from Purdue.
This was a name that when he entered the portal, it drew immediate national attention. It was immediately he's going to be one of the top tight ends in the portal. He's that good.
Yeah, it's so weird with him. The stats don't really back up the production out of him, if that makes sense.
And he's a Cincinnati kid, right?
Oh,
Indiana.
Okay.
He's from Indiana.
Yeah, he played his high school ball at St. X Cincy. And do you know who was the offensive coordinator at St. X Cincy during that time?
He's on staff.
Please.
He's on staff. It's Andrew Coverdale. We keep talking about him every single show, by the way.
Well, that's not a bad
Coverdale.
thing.
Okay, gotcha.
He keeps getting brought up. So yeah, he played.
you
He
bring
played
him
high
up.
school. He played high school ball for him. So again, though, what it comes back to is it's that relationships. You know, it all goes back to relationships and relationship building. He's going to be on campus on Thursday, Friday, same time as the Moss visit. I think he gets in town tomorrow, but I'm honestly not sure.
I just want to point out, you said his stats aren't that impressive. The man, as a tight end, is averaging 13.4 yards. Like, what the?
He would be the leading tight end on Louisville's roster this year. Put it that way.
Yeah.
He's averaging 13.4 yards of reception. And you had the audacity to say his stats are going to pop out.
No disrespect.
6'4", 240. That's a big boy, too.
That's a Brohm tight end. If you look at previous tight ends, Brahm's had brought in either portal or high school kids, like it fits the mold.
I dig it.
Hey, I wonder who started recruiting him at Purdue.
I mean,
I bet you that guy's on the Louisville football staff right now.
Was it Ron?
the whole stack's the same.
Oh, yeah, true. I mean, I know Ron recruited a lot at Purdue.
Dude, Ron's a huge recruiter.
Yeah.
I don't think people give him enough credit for that. But no, so he's on a Notre Dame visit right now. Does that sound right?
Yeah, he is visiting Notre Dame. I did see that.
Yeah.
Notre
Dame's
Dame's
on to Notre Dame. He'll be off Notre Dame tomorrow, or I guess tonight. I guess he's off Notre Dame now because he'll be traveling to Louisville tomorrow. From what I've heard, the plan after Louisville is LSU.
Okay.
Should be a weekend visit to Baton Rouge. So that's, hey man, you know it's a super competitive recruitment for this kid. But you know when you're going after the number one tight end in the transfer portal, they're going to be competitive recruitments. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Especially LSU. I mean, they've proven to use their tight end as a staple in that offense every year, especially under Brian Kelly. I mean, Will Taylor, their current tight end, I think he's the top tight end on the draft board, if not the second.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I think isn't the Mac kid above him?
Oh yeah. The out of Bowling Green.
Yeah.
He's good. He's good.
Okay, and speaking of Mac tight ends, Kozel, I know he committed to us last year. I haven't heard anything about that kid.
Yeah, I figured since after last year they probably wouldn't be pursuing him again, in my opinion.
Well, the way I look at it, if you decommitted last year, we all know why he committed because Redmond was also coming.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was the consensus agreement. I don't think anything was ever publicly said. But two, I don't think that creates the best relationship. Because it's not like he decommitted like right after Redmond. Like it was like right towards the end, if I remember correctly.
I think he was first, and then it was Redmond, right?
Well, so I mean, I don't want to talk bad about the kid, but from my understanding of that situation, he kept dragging Louisville on with like, I will, be enrolling in U of L on this date, and then that would change, and then that would change. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, at this time, I don't think Louisville's pursuing him. I haven't seen anything about it. I haven't heard anything about it.
Chubba Purdy has already withdrawn from the transfer portal, by the way.
Good for him. He needs to finally stay.
In a whole 24 hours.
And no offense to Kazul, like Louisville's just in on better tight ends this year. I mean, it's
the same thing.
I mean, I know he decommitted
happened
last year, but I still take him, man. I still take the Ball State kid.
I wouldn't take him over Claire.
No.
Or
I could take another
Deuce
tight end.
Robinson.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because don't get me wrong, like Deuce Robinson and Claire, like those are legitimately. I know that with Robinson entering today, on 3, their boards won't be updated until tomorrow. But it wouldn't surprise me if Deuce Robinson was the number 2 tight end in the country.
Yeah.
or number 3.
The thing with Deuce, like, he can play a wide receiver role as well. Like, he's more of that tight end hybrid.
Well, if you look at some articles and stuff, will call him.
Yeah, there's been some that call him a wide receiver.
I mean, look at what he did against us in the bowl game last year. He ran a 40, 50-yard post route and caught it, ran into the end zone. Like, most tight ends aren't going to do that.
So he's a tight end, but like you were kind of saying, half of the time that he's on the field, he's not lined up on the line of scrimmage.
Correct.
Yeah. He's out wide.
Right.
And that versatility in the Brohm offense is beautiful.
Yeah. Like, dude, so I'll tell you, man, if you I don't want to keep talking about Miller Moss and Deuce Robinson. If you get those two guys, this thing is going to get scary.
Because I keep seeing people going, well, which one do we take? Do we take Robinson or Claire or whatever? I'm like, you take both.
Both. Yeah.
You take both.
It's going to get
take
scary.
What you can get.
And here's the thing, too, is like, I debated myself about this all day, and it's even crazy to think about. But in some ways, this is the most important portal class for Brohm yet, because you're going into year 3. You have an outstanding opportunity with 8 home games and a very manageable schedule as it sits right now for next year to put yourself in position to be a top 10 team. I mean, this portal class is extremely important. You have the resources to land an elite portal class. You've proven you can land a top 5 class the last 2 years. Do it again with the right pieces. The expectations are off the charts. The hype is off the charts. You're 263 days away from opening day next year against Eastern Kentucky. And you talk about, momentum going into the offseason. You have a chance to, in some ways, put this football program in a position we have not seen in a long time in the offseason.
So the 2 things I'm going to add onto what you said. I think this is the first time. So we've seen huge portal turnover every single year. This is the first time where you didn't have to do that.
Right.
I genuinely think if you didn't get a single player out of the transfer portal right now, you'd probably win 6 or 7 ball games next year. But now everything that you're getting and adding onto your roster are pure upgrades.
Yeah.
And pure additional depth.
And it's big names too. It's not group of 5 big names, which we have a few, but the majority of them are guys that every Power 4 program in the country would want to have. Like, that's where you're starting to separate yourself. Like, that's where you become, the portal king, so to speak. If you want that title, this is the year you prove it. This is the year you bring in the guys you need to get to the next level. And you have every resource to do that. Every resource imaginable.
And if you kill it in the portal, which I think you will, if you do it, Louisville football will be a preseason top 10 team next year.
Yeah, and the thing too here, when you look at, people want to talk about the size of the high school class. If you are one of those people that is concerned about high school recruiting, go look at the class. Yes, it's a small class, but the class that they just signed has got some potential studs in that class.
The last thing I'm worried about is high school recruiting right now.
Right, like, I don't think it's being talked about enough. Like, the potential out of that small class is there. Just saying.
I want to get
to that question real quick.
Well, I was going to say I want to get to a lot of these questions because they're
all right.
stacking
Let's do
up.
some questions, and then we're going to go run through.
So right now, looking at the roster, Chris Bell's a junior, so Chris Bell still has eligibility left. I would love to keep him in Louisville. I think it happens. Jaden Thompson is a senior, so he's out. Colin Lacey will be returning. Callaway entered the portal. Drew Allen, not sure who that is. Trinity, so I assume maybe walk on. HB's going to the draft.
Good luck, brother.
Yeah.
Jaden King, shut up. Stop it. Jaden King is a redshirt freshman. I've never heard that name. Chris Hughes, because this is still a Chris Hughes fan page. Chris Hughes.
He played at the place about 30 minutes away from where I live. So
yeah.
I have a serious Chris Hughes question.
What's up?
Did he burn his red shirt this year?
I think he did.
I think he
did.
He was already redshirt freshman.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh,
he
okay.
redshirted last year, I think.
Hey, Chris Hughes is gonna really help us, man.
According to the Louisville roster on the Louisville Athletics website, it says redshirt freshman. So
you talk about someone filling that Dwayne Martin role. Just saying.
JoJo Stone. That is one I really, really, really want to keep. That's got a red shirt this year. Was a red shirt.
He came in hurt though, right?
Yeah,
he had some injuries in the spring.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But I heard that when he was able to practice, that there was people are impressed.
Yeah, I was hearing good things about it.
Blue Hicks showed out multiple times this season.
Yep.
Buy stock now. The kid's going to be a stud. Just saying.
I can't remember Jaleel McLean. Portal? I feel like I remember saying that in the portal.
Yeah, portal.
Antonio Meeks.
I forget about him, man.
I do too. Well, he was injured. He had
We had him last year, right? He came from
and this is one that I don't want y'all to forget, because I think this is going to be, I think you're going to see, I don't know if you'll see a lot this year from him, but next year, because he's a true freshman this year. And he'll end up redshirting. Sean Boykins out of Radcliffe, the North Hardin kid, 6'1", 190. Kid is a fucking tank, though. My opinion, built more like a tight end, like a mini tight end, I think. Would not want to have to compete with him for a ball at any point in time.
He's a very good basketball player too.
That's what I always heard. So, he can hop on over to the yellow.
We need some players on that team, man.
We just need warm bodies.
So that is current wide receivers. I'm going to interrupt you guys because I'm going to try to go through some of these because we've got like 10 backlog. How would Browner Watson go after NFL next year? Thought you had to play 3 years of college.
Because I'm an idiot and I don't know how to do math.
Yeah, they are not red shirts. They are true freshmen.
My bad.
So 2 more years. That's fine with me.
Yeah, 2 more years.
Yeah.
2 more years for Fluff to develop.
Yeah. I could see a red shirt maybe in possibility. I really want Eric Rivers, the receiver from FIU.
He's basically just another Colin Lacey.
He's Miami bound.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
You don't need 2 Colin Laceys.
Would love Deuce and Jamari Johnson do at the tight end. You're gonna do bad things to me right now.
Hey man, that was the plan 2 years ago, by the way.
A fair point.
That was the plan.
Fair point.
Read them.
I'm
Rodriguez has informed his team that he is returning to West Virginia. Hey, good for Rich Rod, man.
Good for Richie.
Hey,
good for Rich Rod.
That's like a hell of a comeback story. Is Bell going to stay or leave?
Bring Bobby back.
The way I'm going to view this, and I'm not saying this is the proper way to view it. If Chris Bell was going to leave, I think he would have already been at the portal. That is my personal opinion, and it could be waiting to see if we bring someone else in to see how much competition there is going to be in the room. But I think a 6'2", 220-pound wide receiver that really had a phenomenal second half of the season, I think that he could get about as many suitors as he wanted in the portal.
He would be a very high portal guy if he entered.
I definitely agree. So I just have a feeling that if he was, and like I say, I'm not saying I'm right. I know nothing. I just think he would already been in the portal.
Sorry, my internet's connected.
You're good. What do you think, guys?
All right. So me and Chris Bell have a very unique relationship.
Yeah, he told you to sit down and let him show you how to ball. Is what
I like Chris.
He said you don't fucking know ball like I do. So. And then he proceeded to ball out every week after that.
Dude, Josh went off on Chris Bell, and after that, hey, you need to go off on him every game.
So
there we go.
I think Chris Bell is a very circle of trust time. This isn't me being mean. I think Chris Bell is very serviceable for what we do here. And I think Chris Bell does a lot of things right on this offense that makes him very valuable to this offense.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, from my understanding, Chris wants a little bit of a pay raise.
Like a little bit or
a little bit or
because I'm not gonna lie, I think he did a lot in the second half of the season to determine.
He's doing that. Show me the money.
A lot.
Yeah.
And
so he's under contract negotiations.
With a guy like Chris, like I said, very good player. Really fits well in the system. But at the end of the day, you can find some studs in the portal.
And we like shiny new toys. So
yeah, so what I'm saying, I hope Chris Bell stays. I like Chris Bell a lot. Chris Bell has earned my respect. He's earned everyone's respect. He is a ball out player. He is a really, really good wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. But right now we need at least 1 or 2 guys in that room that are starter caliber. And I think that could lead to certain people leaving.
I mean, we've got a few wide receivers visiting, so
let's talk about them.
Yeah, I mean,
hold on. We still have 8.
Yeah.
We still have 8 messages.
All right.
This is a 2-parter. Does the 502 circle have the fun slam multiple top players at each position? Yes.
Big Cat Daddy, yes.
Yes. Derek said, damn, so we're going to need big upgrades in the receiver position, and Jaden Thompson did enter the portal, unfortunately. I don't know why he was getting playing time.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah. So that's going to come back. Derek also said he's high on JoJo Brohm, always has good words about him. He's a 4-star offers. Yeah, JoJo his time is coming. Fortunately, was able to redshirt this year.
Yeah.
And that redshirt in your freshman year is so vital, especially when you're coming, especially a position like wide receiver, a skill position, because that lets you put on muscle, gain strength, gain speed, to better compete at this level. So wide receiver, because he's I'm trying to remember, he's what, 5'10", if I remember, 5'11". So he needs that. I mean, honestly, that year the weight room pays dividends.
Another USC player just entered the transfer portal.
I've got it
just now.
Just now.
Refresh. The edge.
Yeah, DJ Peavy.
David Peavy.
Peavy?
Red shirt freshman. 6'4", 230. Their whole team's falling apart.
Hey, we're going to need plenty of guys on the defensive side of the ball, man.
Bear Alexander entered the portal as a college football fan.
No. He's been in the portal every year since he's been playing college ball.
That kid.
It's because his name is Bear.
If you go back to high school, okay? If you go back to high school.
4 high schools.
Was it 5 different high schools or something?
I thought
every year was a new school.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I remember that strictly because of that. Now, I would not have remembered the name, but now that you bring that story up, I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember that kid.
All right.
But
all right, so,
going back to wide receiver visits, if we're ready, Josh, I know you had one there you wanted to mention.
Yeah, so this just kind of came up to me this evening. It's a guy we talked to on our previous show, and I'm actually going to tweet it out now that I'm going to talk about it because I'm official like that. Troy Salato, the wide receiver from Clemson. He's a good kid, man. We talked about it pretty extensively, but he will be breaking news.
I didn't mean to clink that. Sorry.
Oh. So Troy Stellato, he entered the portal. when he entered the portal, his camp just wanted to come to Louisville to play in the Jeff Brohm system. He's going to be visiting this weekend. If you want like a full breakdown on him, go watch last show because we talked about him a lot.
I have a buddy who's a big Clemson fan. I asked about him, and they said, he couldn't stay healthy. We've had those players this past year, but he said, but when he is, he's very flashy, very, very good receiver. We were very, very lucky to have him.
So I'll give him the shout out. By the way, the fifth quarter Clemson account, they're awesome. By the way, like please give them a follow. Even if you don't care about Clemson, like the guy that runs that account, he's cool. I talked to him pretty extensively about Stellato, and like he was like, man, this is a guy that we don't want to lose, but we're happy to see him move on somewhere and get quality time. Like one of those situations, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I've had a couple people say, like, I think Stellato had some injuries at Clemson that just kind of hampered him from seeing more playing time. But yeah, he's a player that a lot of Clemson fans were excited about and didn't necessarily want to see leave. So it's a guy that you can bring in and hopefully succeed. If he was recruited by Dabo out of high school, he's got the talent.
We brought in a quarterback who couldn't stay healthy, and we brought in Ja'Cory Brooks who couldn't stay healthy. Look how they played.
Yeah, well, and like the thing with Stellato, also from my understanding, is it's always been like weird, very similar to Shuck. Actually, it's always been like freak things. You know what I mean? Like I think he broke his hand like walking to class. I think I heard that.
Hit it on a light post or something.
Like it wasn't a football related injury. He just broke his hand, and I was like, oh damn, like that's awful. But yeah, he's gonna be visiting on Saturday. I can't wait for some Discord to put this out there that they're breaking the news on it.
Yeah, saying they got sources.
Yeah. But yeah,
sources, read all about it.
Yeah. But let's get on.
Wait. See, I knew that would come in.
Dang, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, since sources hashtag. Anywho, moving on. I'm trying to get back to Louisville's transfer page. Sorry.
We've got another offensive lineman visiting this week that I don't think we've talked about yet.
Jackson.
Philly, big Philly, out of FIU. Josh, I know you're high on him. Big guy, numbers are off the charts. You look at.
Is he visiting tomorrow and Thursday? Is that what y'all said?
Yeah, I know Thursday. I don't know if it starts tomorrow or Thursday.
I think it does start tomorrow because he's a day before. I think he's in town right now.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
He's one where there's some stuff out there on him, like good video of him, even back to his high school, and he'd had some camp videos out. Early on, he was just a guy that you could play. I'm not honestly surprised he ended up at FIU. No disrespect to them, but he hadn't allowed a sack in 2 years, as Josh put in our notes. 6'7", 330, I think is his size. He's one of those guys that draws attention.
He's a pure left tackle, man. Like he is a guy that he can make a lot of money in the future.
He'll make good money here.
Yeah, he can make good. He can make good money here. But just his size again, and I feel like a broken record when I'm saying this, but kind of similar to what I said about Mosa. His lateral speed is so good. Just one thing that you're going to look at, and again, offensive line talk. You're going to see so much movement. You got to have guys that are good on their feet. You got to have guys with good footwork. You got to have guys that can move and groove to the left and the right and use them hips. He does that every day. And he's a tank of a man also. He is massive.
And you watch his highlights, like you watch his stuff. Like he's one that when he leaves the line, he is actively looking to run through somebody. He wants to put you in the ground. Like he has that type of mentality.
He runs with violence. Or not runs, but he plays with violence.
Pancake somebody.
You know the blindside scene with Michael Orr pushing the guy with the fence? Like, that's what I think of when I see him. Like, it's obviously not to that extent, but he has that same mentality when he gets off the line. Like, he wants to run through you and wants to put you in the ground.
Can I ADHD really quick?
Mm-hmm.
Does ESPN ever do this to you? Like whenever you search somebody on Google and it's like Nair Jackson, it shows some random person that is not them. Because it does it to me almost every time that I search for somebody. Like I searched Ja'Cory Brooks the other day, and it was like a picture of Mason Riger or something. It's somebody like from the roster, like it's on the right team usually. But I'm like, that is not Ja'Cory Brooks. Some wildly different people.
But yeah, with the Nair Jackson, man, I feel really good about getting the kid, and I really hope we get him.
Yep.
Bad.
We've had a lot of people ask about the defensive side of the ball, at least in the comments tonight, and that's going to come. You have to fill that side of the ball. So I think it's just from a roster standpoint, the quarterback right now is your priority, and then you can slowly move to the other side of the ball. You have to solidify the quarterback ASAP.
I'm really sorry.
You gotta read.
No, is Les Miles actually going to West Virginia?
Les Miles as DC?
Is Les Miles actually going to be Rich Rod's DC?
Whoa.
No.
Let's see.
I skated right by that.
I don't see anything.
Okay.
I just read that too, man. I was like, what?
Hear me out. Rich Rod head coach. Les Miles DC. Bobby Petrino OC.
Oh, I knew that.
Dude, you'd have the hottest coaching hires of the 2000s.
Yeah, and the oldest.
And Josh got fired.
You would have
all the 2000s guys
coaching staff.
Kyle's our great friend Kyle. His comment is pretty great. If y'all have not seen that,
incredible inside Adam Gordy.
We do need to address this real quick. Like, if y'all did not hear the Dane Key rumor, it was completely bogus. It was a burner account who was in contact with a Rivals reporter, just completely bogus. Like, it's happened to each one of us, but especially this time of year, like, you're going to see so much fake information on Twitter.
Well, he got one of them right.
Yeah, one of them he got right. Yeah,
but how embarrassing is it that you posted that and got burned by a burner?
So,
I think it's great.
That's embarrassing.
I don't want to sound mean when I say this. A lot of these guys that write about college football, they're older, and they just don't know any better.
That's fair.
I don't mean that to sound mean, but
yeah, you do. You mean to me, mean. Yes.
Yeah, don't get catfished. Don't get catfished.
Don't get catfished.
Hey, man, it was making the rounds too, and then everybody was putting, "Hey, his brother played for Jeff Brohm at WKU," and then it was all deleted.
I just didn't get it, because I put up after I saw it, I put up a tweet myself, and I was like, I don't know about this. Like,
it just didn't make sense from the start. It made zero sense. There was no rumor of it before it ever came out. Like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, "There's no way. There's just no way we're going down that road."
Can we talk about receivers now, please? God, I've been trying to talk about group of 5 receivers for the past 30 minutes.
Let's do it. About receivers.
We got some group of 5. I'm sorry, we only have one group of 5 receivers.
Well, we can talk about the one that I know we spoke about him earlier, but the one that the guy did get right is Kelly. But I mean, I know we talked about him.
Yeah. All right, let's just talk about guys from Western Kentucky for the next 20 minutes.
I mean, that roster, it has to be the most depleted roster from a team whose coach did not leave.
It's not.
Well, you can talk about Kentucky too. So
it's UK right now. The most depleted rosters in college football are Marshall, Western Kentucky, and I guess now Southern Cal.
And 2 of those teams' coaches did not leave.
Yeah. At least like with Marshall, I can at least kind of understand it. But yeah. The Western Kentucky guys. We got 2 Western Kentucky guys.
You want to
want to talk about linebacker or wide receiver first?
Well, you say wide receiver, so.
All right, cool. There's my WKU linebacker comment right there. With Easton Messer, he's in the portal. He looks like he's going to be visiting early next week to U of L. The dates I've heard are either Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
He's a good wide receiver, man. He's from Louisville, Kentucky. He played at Cal. I'm a DeSales guy, so I'm not a big Cal guy, but we'll let it slide this one time.
Yeah.
This one time we'll let it slide. So what I've noticed about him is he's a great route runner, and really, really sharp in the intermediate game also. Like, I noticed it really quickly with him. He runs a lot of option routes, and he's sharp on his cuts. Really, really sharp. Don't mean it offensively at all to him. He doesn't have blazing speed. That's just not a part of his game. But he's a smart route runner. He is deliberate. Very good pass catching skills. What I really liked about him, and if you go back and watch a lot of the Western film, is he is such of a threat in the red zone, especially. Like, you put him in like an under 20 yard and like give him an option route with like a 1-on-1 or like a one, like on an on-1 with a 1 high, like that kid's gonna win that a lot. Okay, yeah, Julian Edelman clone because he's white. He's a good one, man. And a lot of what I see in his game is very similar to Colin Lacey. He looks like a younger, less developed version of Colin. I like him a lot. He and if I'm not mistaken, was he all CUSA this year?
I think so.
Yeah, like he's got some nice film, man. I really like his game, and I think he could be a very nice little piece in this roster. To be honest, I don't think he's not that wide receiver one, and he's not in that realm. But he is a very good young piece that you can bring in certain packages and then develop. So 2 years down the line, you have that that starting caliber wide receiver.
Think of the way I saw it is kind of that Amari Bruce Huggins role, but a much better wide receiver.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
It's that type of role that has the potential to grow into something much bigger. And he's got I think a little bit more potential than Amari, but it's a guy that I would selfishly like to have.
That blows.
Do you think that's because Deuce Robinson is visiting soon?
That's not a trade-off I want to make.
I mean,
it's a trade-off you have to make. If it's a trade-off you have to make,
I mean, yeah, you take it, but
yeah. I mean, it sucks. There's no way. It sucks.
It does, but let's not forget we have a future star tight end currently on the roster who is recovering from injury and
possibly 2.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I'm extremely high on Jamari Johnson. We saw what he could do before the injury, and you just gotta obviously in this day and age hope he comes back. But if he does, I think you're fine there. I really do. You bring in another piece, you're fine at tight end.
I also think that I don't think it'll be he'll be a difference maker necessarily this year, but I haven't heard a lot out of the camp or anything about him. But Dylan Messman in high school was an absolute monster. He's the 4-star, I believe 4-star from Michigan, if I remember correctly. Tight end. he was a monster tight end in high school. I mean, he was like the fourth or fifth ranked tight end in the country.
I mean, he was a kid you beat out Michigan and Michigan State for.
Yeah.
You went to either home state and beat him out.
Yeah, which is crazy in its own. But
Yeah,
that is.
I
think that's going to be one that plays.
It's a kick it's a punch in the gut, because we did just talk about how great the kid is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we just spent 30 minutes on him. So
yeah, no, it's a punch in the gut. But you just you kind of hope that there's a plan in place.
Yep. And
that Deuce Robinson is that plan.
So it's gonna be weird having two Deuces on the team. I thought Deuce was such a unique name anyway. Like I was on the Deuce and Duke train because those are like such unique names. And now you're about to tell me that there's a possibility we're gonna have two Deuces. I can't handle that.
So yeah. Anyway, back on schedule. That's Messer. I really like him. Early next week is what it sounds like. Yeah, Kyle's pretty smart also. The other Western guy, linebacker type, I think this is the first defensive player we talked about, by the way, also.
Yeah, I think it is.
Darius Thomas, he's a linebacker. He's defined as a linebacker. I would argue if he comes to U of L, he's going to play more of that star backer role. Kind of similar to what Watts plays right now. Had a pretty good season last year. 54 that's career. 54 tackles. Southern Indiana kid. No, I'm sorry. I just saw someone comment that to me. They called what's his name? They called Messer a Southern Indiana kid. Yes, he's from Silver Creek High School, but he graduated from Cal. Sorry.
He did graduate from Cal. Yeah.
He graduated from Cal. He started at Silver Creek.
Messman?
Cooper Beaven. I don't even think this person is watching our show. He just commented saying Southern Indiana kid.
Oh, like on Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter, on my mess.
I'm like, he's from Saline, Michigan.
Cooper's a good dude. Just saying.
Darius Thomas. I think he'll play more of that card backer role. He's from Miramar, Florida. He's visiting, I think, Thursday, Friday. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think Thursday or let me check. I've got the list.
Yeah, he's good, man. He's very physical. I really like his game a lot. He moves around fast. I'm giving all the most generic, comps in the world on him. But no, honestly, he plays the Watts role for Western essentially. I think that's what he would play here. They really like to use him, especially on like outside like zone concepts. It's pretty cool. Something I noticed watching this film today, which you didn't see a lot with Watts. And I know his agent, and you know his agent.
Yay!
Doesn't matter. But I thought it was a fun fact.
Yeah, it's not on here, and none of his visits are on here. So,
but.
The one thing I wanted to hit on because it's my concern, and I've not seen anything about it, but I did want to bring up possibilities.
Okay.
Of if you've seen, I've got the list up right now, the transfer portal list. Secondary.
Yeah. So with secondary.
I know it's its own beast in the transfer portal.
It is. It's a unique beast also.
It really is.
We have a potential secondary piece that is visiting next week, according to our notes.
Working on a visit. Yeah, so secondary, like you said, it's its own beast in the portal.
Yeah.
Secondary is very hard. So secondary and offensive line are so hard to recruit in the transfer portal alone. And especially with secondary, you see a lot of package deals in secondary. That's where they're really big with. I know. Yeah, we'll get back to the They were in on the Purdue kid, the safety. We talked about him quite in depth last show. They're still pursuing him, but I mean, again, it's like Claire. That kid is getting pursued by every
team in the fucking country.
I think if I'm not mistaken, he's on a visit to Notre Dame right now with Claire.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. That's gonna be a big money kid, also.
And rightfully so. I mean, he's so fun to watch.
Yeah, I could see Louisville trying to get involved with it. I think Louisville has been. I mean, I know they've been talking to him. Ron English recruited him to Purdue. I don't know if Louisville can seal the deal. That's a tough one, because you got to think with recruiting wise, like what you're seeing right now with Louisville is you're seeing so much of the energy and focus go towards Miller Moss.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other teams in the portal that are doing that towards him.
I think that kind of like you've seen last year, because when you don't have that set in stone quarterback, there's a lot of question marks floating around your program. I think rightfully so. Like I couldn't imagine being a wide receiver looking at Louisville and being like, well, hell, I don't even know who's going to be throwing me the ball. So, and I think that, until you, even on the defensive side of the ball, until you know who that quarterback, who that leader of, one whole half of football is, are you comfortable committing to a team until that? I think if you can get that puzzle piece in, I think those battles for kids like that become a little bit easier, because you can already show that you're making those moves.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion. So,
yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting stuff.
Good.
If I look down at my phone, sorry, not really trying to be a dick. Yeah, like he said, man, the quarterback is you got to get it situated. Because I mean, quite honestly, like with secondary especially, if you're a bad team, that ain't gonna help your draft stock in the secondary. It just ain't.
Because that's a position that, and it's not right, but that's going to get looked over if your team sucks.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you're going to.
Yeah. So, like, I think what is their strategy right now is pretty solid. What I'm seeing from them is obviously you have Miller Moss, and that's its own separate thing right here. Okay. But then right here in this pile, you have very good players in the transfer portal that you can get right now. And you're getting those guys right now. And then I think once you get this pile, the Miller Moss pile figured out, and I think this pile, the guys you think you can get right now, you're getting right now. Once you get both those, then it's okay. We need a cornerback. We need a slot cornerback. We need a high point cornerback. We need a free safety. We need a run support strong safety. Then you start getting those type of guys.
Yeah, those are puzzle pieces that get put in together. I just didn't know. Has there been anybody that jumped out to you? I know there was one guy from, where was that?
And you got to remember, like, when as more bowl games get played, more are going to enter. So, I mean, we're still in the very early stage of available talent in the portal. I mean, it's you've had a big entry early, and as bowl games get played, you'll get more and more. So,
and, we know this, especially at Louisville. You don't have to be a former 5-star to be a good defensive back.
Oh yeah, not at all.
Man, there are some studs that come out of the G5 ranks of DBs.
I mean, let's be honest. When Quincy Riley committed to come to Louisville, did we even look into it? Like,
I don't even remember saying his name.
Exactly. Same with Keitrell Clark. I mean, that was another one. I mean, that's a position to where it's one of the most underrated as far as development goes in college football right now. but it's where you probably see more development that is not talked about enough at that position.
Yeah, like it's a thing. Like, is it a concern? Absolutely. Given the history of Louisville, and even with at Purdue, I'm personally not that concerned about it.
And I mean, to Armani McDonald, he was a guy that added toward the end of the portal window last year.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of time.
Yeah. But a secondary guy that we can talk about right now is Bayer Tafik. He's a slot cornerback from South Florida. He's pretty good. He's pretty damn good, I think. I think they have him at a high 3 on 3, which transfer portal ratings are a different ballgame. But 54 tackles this past year, 8 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, an interception, and a forced fumble. Like I said, he plays more of that slot role, but it's really interesting because he plays up in like a run support kind of a guy. It's pretty cool. If he had like 20 more pounds on him, he would be a perfect Antonio or Watts, if that makes sense. Yeah. The thing with him, he is being heavily pursued by Colorado and Virginia Tech. Colorado scheduled him for a visit on December 20th. Which I don't know why we're scheduling visits 2 weeks.
2 weeks out.
Yeah. They scheduled him for a visit on December 20th.
Deion's too busy pushing Travis Hunter to be for the Heisman. Sorry, he's on a campaign.
I think Virginia. I think he's gonna be at in Blacksburg. I think this week. From everything that I've heard and everything that I've read, it seems like he's a Colorado lean because of money. Colorado's offering a little more cash than Tech, which, okay, whatever. He has heard quite a bit from Louisville. Louisville's kind of getting their way into this recruitment, through the past few days. And from what I've heard, Louisville's working on a visit next week.
Cool.
So
I can take that.
Yep. Nothing much more you can ask about other than that. No. But yeah, look him up. He's cool. I really like the game.
When he first entered the portal, I remember looking into him a little bit the other day. He was actually one of the guys I looked up a little bit of tape on. But yeah, he had one hit that it was one of those. It was one of those that watching it makes your bones shatter.
Yeah.
I can't remember what game it was, but it was. I was like, I like this kid.
Yeah.
So, do you want to move into DL, that defensive line?
Yeah, I mean we can.
I think we can just do a quick hit and run on it.
The problem with defensive line is it's kind of like that secondary. You're just you're not really targeting anyone right now. No. So and like especially with D line, I think as we gloss over this a lot, but I would argue the defensive line is the best position you've recruited out of high school over the past 3 years in a row.
I would agree with you on that.
I think
especially those edges.
Yeah, it's something crazy. You've had at least one 4-star or better defensive lineman in your past 5 classes.
Also, want to point out, there's no one really that has entered the portal from the defensive line standpoint that screams.
You have Silver.
Right.
Well, I was going to say with the exception of Keyshawn.
Yeah. So in D line's another completely different beast, by the way, but it's one of those positions where I don't think it's as much of a concern as people think it is.
It's a concern for me because I hate to see because if you get one inept person on that D line, you can have fucking All-Americans lined up on each side of him. But it's like that. It's the old saying: your defense or your line is only as good as your weakest player.
Yeah,
and that is what I just have a fear in, and it's not even a fear. It's just it's realistic. I think that you can have a phenomenal defensive line, and you can if you've got somebody that is undisciplined, things like that, you can throw it all out the window. So
Well, it's like last year you saw this huge run on Louisville with D linemen. I think it was in the spring portal session.
Yep.
I just don't think you see that. I think I could see them taking like an edge and maybe like 2 D tackles.
So that was right around the time that I started the channel, and one thing that I noticed and I pointed out heavily with a lot of those guys we took in that spring portal class, especially on D line, or there was even one, I think it was like a linebacker from Cal. I can't remember his name. Miles, is it
Jernigan.
Yeah. I don't remember him specifically if he fits into this category, but a lot of the guys that we were going for still had 2 years of eligibility.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like, I don't know. And I brought that up. I was like, I don't know if this is a cool, they're, just it's a coincidence, or if this is like a long-term play, and kind of you've not seen a lot of those guys. I mean, I think you've only seen one of those guys enter the portal. So it seems that it might be more of that long-term play.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I'll take it.
Yeah. It's always a concern, especially when you're losing a guy like Ashton and to a lesser.
It's irreplaceable.
Yeah. But I think that it's not as concerning as people are going to make it out to be. I think this is one of those times where.
Yeah, and
this is one of those times where you just kind of have to trust your high school recruiting process a little bit, and luckily D-line is a position you can do that.
Yeah,
and like you mentioned, the high school, they've done well at that position in high school ranks. I mean, they've done well in finding those plug-and-play guys out of the portal on the line too. I mean, Congo was really good. Thor was pretty good this year, so I'm not worried. Yeah, I mean they've done a great job identifying the talent that fits and brought them in. So I'm not worried about that either.
Yeah,
because I think we talked about it on a previous show. Like, obviously you lose Ashton, who's the big piece on the defense, but you've got a core coming back there. So it's not going to be a huge position of need, if that makes sense. I think you can go get a star and then add those rotational pieces and you're set. Like I'm confident in the D line next year.
You guys want to hear something? You guys want to hear something cool but really off topic?
Absolutely.
Yeah. In college football 25, they added the Isaac Brown sleeping celebration. Yeah,
love him. They also added a bunch of new uniforms, 2 new uniforms to Louisville, and they got the googly eye Western Kentucky uniforms.
They added the real black jersey, the one we actually
did
wear.
They actually add? It's the actual one now.
Yeah,
we got that one and the gold.
Wear. Yeah,
that and the gold lettered ones. The Muhammad Ali ones this year.
Yeah.
I was more excited for the Western Kentucky googly eyed ones because I'm like, well, it's now my fucking uniform. That's my default uniform for the rest of my life.
They also added the black script cards helmet too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a sick helmet.
Which we're 0-2 in, by the way.
Also, they added, I know no one cares, they added the Mardi Gras South Alabama helmets.
Actually, I like that helmet. So
best helmet in football.
I have an appreciation of Mardi Gras in itself. Really quick, on the D line, but sliding over to the edge position. Do you think we take an edge in the portal, losing Ashton? We've got some guys, but rather young in that area. Do you see us taking edge, or do you see us maybe converting maybe a linebacker up? I mean, like we said, Ashton's irreplaceable. You don't replace somebody like that mentally, physically. I mean, you don't. He's gifted with an insane heart, an insane drive, and so do you see us maybe taking maybe one edge in the portal?
So I do. I think what I would like to see is a shift in philosophy with your edges. So this season, I don't know if people always realize this, Ashton played a lot of football.
Ashton played every position on the D line, I think.
The number of quarterback hurries that he had this year was off the charts.
It was like 50 something, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was like 57 or 58.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a number you don't see very often.
He played a lot of football. I like Ashton a lot, and I think Ashton is very good at playing football. There's not very many edges that can play that much football.
No.
What I would like to see is maybe in the portal you go out and you get one more experienced guy, maybe bring a guy up from the G5 that you know can contribute in some way at this role. And then you really start to use that younger talent and you go to more the NFL philosophy where you go in these super huge rotational rooms of edges and you bring guys in situationally. That's what I would like to see.
Like if you want pressure, or if you want just necessarily like run stop, or
you want an outside gap guy. Okay, cool.
I was gonna say, or drop back in some coverage because if I love Ashton, but every time I seen Ashton, and it wasn't just Ashton. There was multiple players. There was Thor. Yes, that was the one
this year, and I about threw my freaking TV.
You didn't have to do that.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to realize next year how much Ashton did that was not noticed on that line. Like, that's the big thing that you can't replace. I mean,
that's my thing, yeah.
He only had 5 sacks this year compared to 11 last year. But
it's hard to get sacks when you're freaking lining
and
up
he
interior.
Was killed as much as anybody in the game. But that aside, I mean, he's the guy that – he was the perfect team player. He did the hard work so you could go in and get the play. I mean, that's what he did, and that's what's so hard to replace. I mean, the quarterback hurry speaks for itself. I mean, if you go back and you rewatch Louisville football this year, Ashton was in the backfield. You go back and watch a game, he was in the backfield the majority of every time that he was on the field. I mean, he's that good and that hard to replace. But you can go get a guy here and there, and you'll be fine. I mean, let's be honest, you're going to be okay.
I think if you dedicate time to finding an Ashton replacement,
you're going to
be here for the next decade.
You're going to strike out. Yeah.
So find a quality edge and do what you can do with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because your linebacker room is going to be really, really good next year. Like,
it already is really good.
Yeah.
Star position, you're loaded. Like, you're just a few pieces. Like, we went into this offseason saying defense. The core is there. It's just finding a few more pieces to solidify that, and you can be really good again. Yeah.
Well, it's like so what I said when we came on, when we were talking about the portal this year and it being unique is you got a base. It's just building onto it and making it better. It's unique. We've never been in this situation.
And I think if I remember right, like coming into this time last year, linebacker was a question mark, but you've seen the development. Yeah, you've seen the development, and I mean, you're fine at that position. I mean, you're fine. You've probably got one of the best linebacker cores in the ACC next year. Let's just be honest.
Well, it's about that time for us, gentlemen.
Yeah. What about special teams?
Did we ever decide if Vinatieri was?
You got Vinatieri son on the roster. I guess you're good.
There was an interesting name that entered the portal today. Not that we would not
talk about the kicker.
I'm just saying the Western kicker, 6 of 6 on field goals of 50 yards or further.
I did see that because so one of the Barstool Western or something shared it, and they were like, "Throw all our money and Corvettes at him." I was like, first off, fair play, because that's how you kept your quarterback.
Why is everyone from Western leaving, by the way?
Because Western's good enough and they got enough. I think it's just trying to move up. Personally, that's my opinion.
It's a prime example of this day.
It's like we talked about the other day. They're that upper tier
of the G5.
They're that upper G5 where a lot of those guys, if they show out and have a good season, they hope that they can jump up to that Power 5, in my opinion. And I unfortunately, I feel like Western, because I grew up in that area, I feel like Western has always kind of been in that position. They're never up here, but they don't really fall far below here. They're just stuck right there.
And it's one of the reasons I'm surprised Tyson Helton hadn't gotten a job somewhere else yet. He's a great football coach who's done a great job at Western. I mean, the development, they've had two really good quarterbacks come through there. They've had, one of their wide receivers last year's in the NFL playing. I mean, he's done a great job there. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten that Power 4 job yet.
Two things I want to hit on before we end the show. I need to do some digging, but I'm 99% sure that Manu Mosa was the first Power 4 person first person to commit to a Power 4 school in the portal this year.
I can give you that information. I'm on the.
You're talking Power 4 to Power 4?
No, just like the first guy to commit out of the portal to a Power 4 program.
I don't think so.
He was up there. I know UAB quarterback committed today also.
Okay.
I don't know who was first, but I did see where he committed today.
It's insane that this one got done so quickly.
Yeah. And that was one where he entered, you were like, okay, this makes sense.
How are there people? Oh, I guess this is when they're entering. So,
are you using On3?
I am. Well, so right below it says update 11/26 announces commitment. How are you committing in November? I'll go back to. Go ahead, and then I'll go back.
All right, but so that was my one thing I wanted to throw out there, and then the second thing is, just wanted to hit on our content for this week, for the rest of the week. We got a show on Thursday night, and we will. Thank you. Looking forward to your future content. Also, thank you.
Appreciate you watching on YouTube too, because that helps. We're trying to grow our YouTube presence.
When Miller Moss commits to Louisville, we'll go live.
So confident. I love the confidence.
Baby.
I'm confident with you. I just can't verbally put my confidence out there. Like
it's all right, dude. The Missouri fan base already hates me. They just, I've gotten so many DMs.
You've already been blocked, sir.
So when Miller Moss commits, we'll go live. We have a planned show on Thursday night. It'll be very similar content style to this.
Because between here and Thursday is going to be chaos.
Yeah. Everything in the transfer portal, it's a 12-hour news cycle. Everything moves so quickly. So we talked about, I think, 8 guys tonight. We'll probably talk about 8 more guys on Thursday. And still talk about Miller Moss.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what the content looks like for this. I don't think we're doing anything this weekend unless Deuce Adams or Deuce Robinson commits on Saturday, and we'll do something.
Yeah, like an emergency space, but I would really like to.
Yeah, same.
We do have
sit on my couch.
We do have somewhat of a big basketball game on Saturday, so
that part of goes to sit on my couch.
So yeah, I don't do that here, Brad. That's not a me problem actually.
Can I bring up one college football related thing that I want your all's opinion on though?
Yes.
Belichick to UNC.
Oh, that's a fun one.
400-page manifesto.
So I'm a Patriots fan.
Yeah.
Most people know that it is what it is. I don't know if letting Belichick go to bring Mayo in was the right decision, because I'm like, you could have stayed in the contract you were in and probably got better results than you did this year. But I also don't think that bringing Bill in to a college team that has historically suffered is also the right call.
Yeah, so you're a Pats guy, so you can answer this a little better than I can. But before Bill left, he was already starting to see some of those personnel problems, wasn't he? And problems with dealing with them.
Yeah, it was anybody, whether you watch football for a year or 30 years, you could see that immediately.
I don't understand how a guy wants to go from NFL to this.
Do you want my personal opinion?
What is it?
It's not for him, it's for his son, because his son and Wayne, because he's like essentially the stand-in coach for whenever Bill's done, whether he retires or goes back to the NFL. I think that's exactly how it was worded. I think it's weird to associate this with Bill Belichick. I think it's not that saying he's selfish, but I think it's 100% not for him. I think it's to build the staff and those that have been around him kind of up, to give them maybe that launch pad into better coaching careers. Because I'll tell you right now, if from what I briefly read about it, I didn't have time to read the whole thing, but it was X amount of dollars invested into the football program and X amount of dollars guaranteed for NIL and blah blah blah. He wants to do nothing but coaching. They have to hire a legit GM just to do recruiting and which, no offense, that's probably how every college football team should be ran nowadays.
Yeah.
So I think that he wants to just come in, be hands off, coach football, which is awesome. Huh?
So the thing that I keep going back to, it's going to be interesting, and I've seen this would instantly piss off any North Carolina fan that I would mention it, but I would be really interested to see how the money situation looks at a traditional basketball program like North Carolina, especially in booster relations, and if they're even willing to do that. You know what I mean?
It wasn't an immediate no, so there's got to be something there. Which it's just how deep do they want to dive into the bowl?
Do you think it works?
No.
I think it does. Go ahead.
I don't think Belichick would have enough time for it to work. Is more because he was on McAfee's show about what if he became a college coach, and he is adamant about development. Like, that's his thing. You come here, I develop you, you get ready for the next step in life, whether it's career or football. And in this day and age, I think he could get a big name here and there, but I don't know if he would have enough time to really implement a plan that would work in this day and age. I just don't see it.
So my counter to that is I think that if this goes through in the way that he wants it to, I don't think it's going to work out like that, because if he has a GM that's pulling guys out of the transfer portal that you're not having to develop, especially if the finances are there where you can put together let's be realistic, a 7-win team at UNC. That's a big deal. An 8-win season, an 8-win team. I think your bare bones is very, I don't want to say this, the standard is lower at UNC for football versus basketball, or
it's everything we've ever said about Kentucky football.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's dead on.
I would love to get a hold of that 400-page manifesto. I could sit here and listen to Josh read that manifesto. Like, dude, I'm more intrigued about that than I am actual Bill Belichick as a football coach.
Dude, I'm still looking for the Connor Stallions manifesto.
Oh man,
I got to find that one first.
Oh man,
I got to get that.
And it was a great tweet about Belichick today from the North Carolina side of things. And imagine being a North Carolina Board of Trustee member on the golf course, and you get a phone call that says, "We need you now." And it is a 400-page document of why Bill Belichick will succeed as a head coach. You have to drop everything to go do that. You have to.
You don't tell Bill Belichick no.
So, yeah, like just as a curiosity standpoint, you have to go read that. Like whether you want to hire the guy or not, the fact that he has that for you, I think it's. I mean, you could make a whole TV series about it.
It's almost psychotic.
So my thing, first off, I don't think this works at all.
No.
I don't think they're going to be able to recruit anyone. I don't. If you're a 5-star man, you're not going to want to go in that system.
Side note, there was a pretty big name that just entered the portal for college football fanatics out there. Michael Van Buren just entered the portal.
No shit.
Star in the making.
No,
he was the only bright spot on Mississippi State's roster. And Hall,
I didn't think he was
Hayes Bassett. Yeah, Hayes just put it out there that he has entered the transfer portal. So I think that's a name that's going to pick up a lot of steam here soon. Not with Louisville, just college football landscape.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, big one.
But my last thing for the Belichick, if you wanted to hire a football guy and you wanted to go the NFL route, I know about his personal issues. Why not just hire John Gruden?
Yeah, like that's my thing. If you're going to hire that type of personality, see, Gruden to me could work.
I think he could also.
Yeah, Gruden could work.
Yeah.
He's on a robot.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I do not think Belichick would produce the results that North Carolina fans would. I mean, you may get the same thing Matt Brown did, 6, 7, 8 wins, great. But at the end of the day, that's not going to allow you to stay there.
What's upsetting for me is as an ACC program, first off, Louisville's going to build a killer roster this year. It'll be preseason top 25, if not preseason top 15. Clemson, I can't believe I'm saying this. They're actually shopping the transfer portal right now.
Yeah, they are.
Like they're going to be preseason top 15.
I think Dabo's job was on the line for that.
No.
Yeah.
He ain't going anywhere.
SMU is. I've gained so much trust in them. I have no reason to believe that they won't be top 25.
Oh yeah. They're going to make some noise this portal season.
Georgia Tech, same thing.
Georgia Tech's already making noise.
Florida State, that's a.
I will say, like, roster aside, Norvell has put together a solid staff this offseason.
That's what's insane to me, dude, is their hires have been so good, but they're.
I did not realize. I did not think Norvell had it in him to go make the hires he did.
Yeah.
Now it's just a matter of that roster, which is, man,
but
that is a group of 4 roster if I've ever seen it.
What I'm trying to get at, though, is you're going to have like 5 to 6 ACC teams that are going to have a lot of preseason hype going into next season. And I already know that the ACC media will pump up a 4-win North Carolina team led by Bill Belichick instead.
It's valid.
And if you want to just not talk about Louisville hype, I'm okay with that. You can ignore us as much as you want.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, just act like we're not there, like you always do, please.
Malik Murphy has 100% crystal ball to Auburn.
Yeah, that's not surprising. That visit was set up extremely quick.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
Yeah, I was gonna say a little too quick.
Yeah.
But all right, guys.
Yeah,
we will be back on Thursday. Let me pull up the schedule real quick, or else I will say it wrong. We've got Thursday. We're gonna do more portal talk. essentially like what we did tonight, diving in deep into Louisville specifics, but also Portal as a whole. And then Friday, we're going to have Kyle, Mads, and Wes and Brad, if you're able.
Probably not on Friday, unfortunately.
No, that's good. But we're gonna have them doing a possible video space on here, just like this, going over the Kentucky, the preview for the Kentucky basketball game Saturday. So, if there is chaos and craziness, we will try to do spaces accordingly. Otherwise, make sure you're following the Twitter channel, because that's where we are able to post regularly, for big news or anything that comes to us before it gets out. So other than that, anybody got any final thoughts, takes, or goodbyes?
263 days till August 30th. Just saying.
All right. That's impressive.
Let the countdown begin.
We're this close to it being Miller time.
Hey, we are. We're getting
I'll
within
stop at the gas station.
We're getting within the same calendar clock day, so it's getting close.
It's getting close. Been fun. Might talk to you guys tomorrow.
We're gonna see an increase in sales by a particular beer company in the city of Louisville.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Other than that, guys, appreciate everybody tuning in. Phenomenal episode tonight, and we will be back at you Thursday.
Go Cards.
See ya.
See ya, and as always, go Cards.